we step on the field, we don't care where we're at, who we're playing against. We want to choke the life out of you. I came to D-on, which I think is the best D-line in the NFL. Attack quarterback and just overall help us win championships.
We hanging our head on stopping the run, you know, and we've been number one the last 3 years.
You got Pat and Kevin in the middle, and people aren't running the ball on us, period.
Not since the 1970 merger had one team led the league in rush defense 3 consecutive seasons, until the 2008 Vikings.
Klecko made the Pro Bowl and attained superstar status, as well as cult status, among jet-fevered fans who appreciated his rough-and-tumble style. That same style was displayed by tackle Marty Lyons, number 93, who was quick to stifle the run and also recorded 6 sacks. Tackle Abdul Salam, number 74, earned 7 sacks. Mark Gastineau, number 99, rounded out the unit that became known as the New York Sack Exchange. His agility and strength earned him a Pro Bowl selection and 20 sacks, second best to Klecko among NFL. Number 79, Harvey Martin, led the team in sacks for the 10th straight year. The Cowboys' pass rush was helped by linebackers Guy Brown and Mike Hegman, and tackles John Dutton and number 60, young Don Smerrick. All-Pro Ed Too Tall Jones, number 72, needed only a few giant steps to make an offense look small. Take a double-barrel shotgun to blunt the firepower of Randy White. Number 54 is double-teamed and held on every play, a strong-arm tactic that White merely out-muscled. The all-pro tackle never quits on a play. Professional pride drove him 40 yards downfield to track down the ball.
Buddy Ryan created the 46 defense. It was a complex scheme with a simple aim: attack the quarterback with overwhelming numbers.
The 46 defense, to make it very plain and to the point, is all about pressure. It is all about pressure. We're going to come at you, and we're going to hit your quarterback until you get another one in.
We're trying to lose the horses now. We're going to get another quarterback, you know, we're coming.
It was a nightmare, I know, for the quarterback. First of all, you have Otis and Wilbur next to each other, that quarterback's looking out of his eye. Then you got Dent on the other side. Then you got Hampton in front of you, and then the fridge, and then Steve McMichael. That's not very good.
Minnesota's defense was one of the most dominant in the league. Their catalyst was Keith Millard.
He was integral in terms of setting the tone for our defensive line. Henry Thomas was playing beside him. Chris Dolman was at one end. Al Noga was at the other end. They were just unbelievable in terms of getting off the ball. And Keith Millard set the tone for how the game was going to be played every week in and week out.
Former outside linebacker Chris Dolman became a dominant defensive end.
If you took a prototype of what you were looking for as a defensive end, it certainly would be Chris Dolman. He's 6'5 and a half, 260, probably runs about a 4.7 40, has great upper body strength, has great reactions. We look for great things out of Chris Dolman.
Dolman and Millard controlled the line of scrimmage.
The front four of Green, Greenwood, and White and Holmes had become dominant. All four were individual standouts. Together, they were the steel curtain.
The great thing about the front four is that they could put all the heat on the quarterback by themselves. They didn't need blitzes. Jack Ham and I and Lambert rarely blitzed. We didn't have to.
The defensive line was the most unique line in that none of the players were similar, but they played so well as a unit. You had this tall, rangy defensive end, L.C. Greenwood, who was about 6'6", 6'7", and people couldn't block him. Joe Green was magical. He could have played defensive back.
And while Joe was obviously going to be a Hall of Famer, one guy that was as good, I thought, was Ernie Holmes. This guy was like closest thing to a John Deere tractor I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he just actually was unstoppable.
Here was a football player that I think brought fear in other players because he had a look to him that was really, really scary.
The 1974 Rams front four was manned by number 89, Fred Dreyer, number 90, Larry Brooks, Merlin Olsen, number 74, and number 85, Jack Youngblood, who was on everybody's all-pro list. For this quartet, under defensive coordinator Ray Malavasi, the main strength and feeling was that of unit play rather than individual glories. Sacks and crunching tackles were considered group accomplishments, as each man filled a particular role in stopping the opponent's offense.
Sacks. I mean, Clyde had 4 of them by himself. I remember that.
We sacked him 11 times, but we hit him probably 15 or 16 times.
I can remember hitting Troy and hearing him just squeal, you know, like a little girl. That was worth 10 sacks by itself. Those are the kind of things that, you know, you take pride in and you say, hey, that day, I was pretty good.
It was just a great defensive day. And the 4 defenses I think people talk about the most is the 85 Bears, probably the 86 Giants, the 2000, 2001 Ravens, and probably us. Up front, you can have an argument that the Eagles front was the best of all of them.
Lamar Lundy, 6'6", 255 pounds.
I'm Roosevelt Greer, and I'm 6'5", weigh 285 pounds.
Deacon Jones, 6'5", 260 pounds.
Merlin Olsen, 6'5", 275.
The anchor of the Los Angeles defense is the front four, the Fearsome Foursome.
As you called the game, it became part of the excitement when the defense went on the field.
Lamar Lundy becomes the hero of the night, and it's victory for the Rams.
The Rams have the rush on, and he's dropped by Lamar Lundy, Dave Jones, Rosie Greer. Lamar Lundy and Rosie Greer.
Olsen in there, Greer in there, along with Jones.
It's that jigsaw puzzle that every coach looks for. How can I fit that piece with this piece? And somehow it all came together with those 4.
Jim Marshall remained, the captain of a Vikings defense that allowed a record 10 points per game over the next 2 seasons. The veteran anchor of a defensive line that passed into NFL legend.
They just played well together. We didn't have to tinker. We didn't have to do a lot of stunting or unbalanced defenses. We just lined up, came as hard as we could, and we'll beat at the quarterback. Together, they were, you know, with all the machinery fit, all the gears were in place. Jim Marshall always played better when he had a temperature, or he had a sprained ankle, or a jammed shoulder, or a sore wrist. He always pushed it up a notch. Every time he was nicked, he played better. He was a unique football player. Moose Eller on the other side was big, strong, pass rushing, played his best games against the toughest players. And then Larson, another steady, big, strong, kind of cleanup guy in the middle.
The 4th and youngest member of the so-called Purple People Eaters was defensive tackle Alan Page. In 1970, he was named the NFC's Defensive Player of the Year.
Alan was easy to coach because he was such a great talent. I mean, he probably didn't need any coaching at all.
In 1971, Page was voted the NFL's most valuable player, the only defensive lineman ever to be so honored.
Probably one of the best defensive linemen that I've ever seen. And one thing you didn't want to do is make him angry. You made him angry, he would get quicker, better, more tenacious.